Hi, I'm Rebecca from Ingvid. One of the most important things when we speak a language, and we want to speak it correctly, is to make sure that our subject agrees with our verb. So if we have a singular subject, we want to make sure we have a singular verb. If we have a plural subject, we want to make sure we use a plural verb. And most of the time, this is something that you learn and you master. But when it comes to pronouns, it can be a little bit trickier. Now, with the regular pronouns, which are definite pronouns like I, you, he, she, it, and these are singular, and we, they, and you sometimes, these are plural. So that's also quite easy, and usually you know that. But one area which can cause a lot of confusion to people who are learning English is something called indefinite pronouns. And there are lots of them, okay? So what I'm going to focus on in this lesson is 5 of the most confusing ones because sometimes they're singular and sometimes they're plural. And I'm going to explain to you so you will know exactly what to do. I'm also going to review some of the others and tell you which ones are always singular and which ones are always plural. So first of all, just before we start, let me just tell you that an indefinite pronoun is what it says. It's not definite, so it doesn't refer to a specific person or place or thing. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so we have here indefinite pronouns, right? We have, as I said, 3 kinds. Some that are always singular, some that are always plural, and the 5 which we're going to focus on in this lesson, which could be singular or plural. Okay? All right. So this is just to review these first. So which ones are always singular? Things like everybody, everyone, everything. So we say everybody is here, everyone is here, everything is here. Okay? We don't say are. Same with somebody is, someone is, something is anybody here, is anyone here, is anything here, and so on. Nobody, no one, nothing, also singular, each, every, much. All of these are always singular. So you have to learn that. If you're not sure, you need to review that. But these are always singular, okay? They're always talking about only one, so even though it seems like there's a lot, okay? When we say everyone, we're talking about like a group of people, so sometimes people think that means it's plural, but it's not. It's actually singular. So you have to learn that because we're considering one group. Next, we have a second category of indefinite pronouns, which are always plural. These kind of make sense, so let's look at them. Both, obviously we're talking about at least 2 people right here. So several, which means many, this is plural. Both of them are, several of the customers are, a few of the customers are here, many of the customers are here, and others are here, okay? So these indefinite pronouns are always plural. That's easy, a little bit easier even than this one, right? But what happens when we come to these? These 5 are a little bit more confusing because sometimes we can say the singular version, which is, and sometimes are, or depending on whatever the verb is. So what are these indefinite pronouns that could go either way? They are most, all, none, any, and some. So now I'm going to explain to you exactly when they become singular and when they are plural. Okay, so the way that you decide with these 5 indefinite pronouns, most, all, none, any, or some, the way you decide whether the verb should be singular or plural is based on what follows these terms, okay? Let me give you an example. First, we're going to start with the easy example with countable nouns. So, Most of the book is interesting. So what followed the word most? The word book. And book is singular, so therefore we used a singular subject, right? Most of the book is interesting. Not all parts of the book are interesting, but most of the book is interesting, okay? Let's look at another example with the same countable nouns, all right? Most of the books are interesting. So now, what followed the word most? Books, right? When were we talking about books? So most of the books becomes plural. So we say most of the books are interesting, okay? It's not that complicated, all right? It just seems that way, but it's really not. It's pretty logical, especially when we're talking about the countable nouns. The same principle applies when we are talking about non-count or uncountable nouns. Now, if you don't know what uncountable nouns are, I'm going to show you in a minute, and then I'll also show you where you can get a resource, which we have on our website, which you can download in case you want to review the uncountable nouns, okay? So, let's look at some of the uncountable nouns and compare them to the countable ones. So, most of the furniture was expensive. Now, furniture is what we call a non-count noun, okay? We can't count it. It's considered, and because we cannot count it, it's considered singular, okay? The non-count nouns, the uncountable nouns are always singular. So, most of the furniture was expensive. Let's compare that to a countable noun. Most of the chairs, right? Chairs with an S, were expensive. See the difference? Most of the furniture was, but most of the chairs were. You're getting it. Same principle. If it's singular, whatever follows this word, make it singular in the verb. If it's plural, make it plural. Let's look at another example. All of the food was delicious. Food is an uncountable noun, so it's singular. All of the desserts were delicious. Desserts you can count, and we're talking about more than one dessert, so it became we chose a plural verb. Next, none of the equipment was delivered. Equipment is an uncountable noun, so we make it singular. None of the equipment was delivered, and none of the computers were delivered, okay? Here it was countable, here it was plural, and so we used were. It's not just that when it's countable, it's plural. Remember up here, these were both countable. So then if it's countable, you have to check if it's singular or plural. But in these examples, I'm just showing you the contrast. Next, was any of his advice helpful? Now here, because it was a question, it's not what came after the word any. In this case, it was what came before, but here you see it, right? Was any of his advice helpful? Advice is uncountable, so we said was, it's singular. Were any of his ideas helpful, right? So here it was ideas, and ideas is plural, and we can count it. So we had to use a plural verb. Let's look at the last example. I hope you're still with me. You've got it. It's the same principle in every example. Some of the information is important, right? Information is something we cannot count, so it's considered singular. Some of the information is important. And some of the lectures are important. Lectures we could count. It's plural, so we used a plural verb. Okay? Did you understand the principle? Because if you've got the principle, then you can apply it. It doesn't matter whatever situation or whatever context you're talking about, you'll be able to apply it, and you will know whether to say, for these indefinite pronouns, whether to use a singular verb or a plural verb. For which ones? Most, all, none, any, and some. And we're going to practice exactly how to do that in just a second. So let's do this. Number 1, some of the students is absent or some of the students are absent. In all of these, you have to decide whether to use is or are, okay? So, what do we say? Some of the students, tell me, are absent. Now, how do we decide that? Because the word that came after some was students, and in this case it was students, right? Plural. So we had to use a plural verb. Some of the students are absent. Next, most of my homework blank finished. So what do we say? Most of my homework, what is it? Is finished. Why? Because homework is one of those uncountable nouns, which is always singular. Good. Blank, any of your luggage missing? So do we say, is any of your luggage missing, or are any of your luggage missing? We say, tell me, is any of your luggage missing? All right? Because luggage is another uncountable noun. If it was suitcases, then we could have said, are any of your suitcases missing? All right? Because suitcases we can count, and that is plural. Next, number 4. None of the players blank injured. What should it be? None of the players are injured. Okay, players, right? So it's plural, so our verb has to be plural. Number 5, all learning blank useful. So what should we say? Is or are? All learning is useful. Okay, learning is also something we cannot count. Blank, any of my answers incorrect? So should we say, is any of my answers, or are any of my answers? Because it's answers, so we have to say are. Okay, very good. Number 7, some rice blank fragrant. What does fragrant mean? Fragrant means that it smells nice. Some rice is, or some rice are? Some rice is fragrant. Rice is also something we cannot count. So it's non-count. Very good. Number 8, none of the material blank useful. Is useful or are useful? None of the material is useful. Because again, we cannot count the word material. It's a non-count noun. Number 9, most shows blank a waste of time. Most shows is a waste of time, or most shows are? Most shows has an S here. Big clue, right? Most shows are a waste of time. And number 10, all your friends is safe, or all your friends are safe? What should we say? All your friends are safe. Okay? And that's good news. Very good news. Now, what can we do after this? What can you do after this to really, really learn this part? Because you spend time watching this video, right? Now you want to master this and take it with you for the rest of your life. So, there are a few things you can do. First, go to my website, go to our website, at www.ingvid.com. There, you can do a quiz on this and reinforce and review. Make sure that you've really understood it. Second, while you're at the website, go to the resource section, and there you can download a page which I've written about countable and uncountable nouns, because knowing those will help you to know these indefinite pronouns correctly and use them properly, okay? And last, make sure to click on the subscribe button so you can keep getting lessons that help you to improve your English quickly and easily, okay? All the best with your English. Thanks for watching. Bye.